back on the Exit 52 podcast. It is Thursday night, November 14th, 7:44 p.m. My name is Jake Louque. We are brought to you by Jimmy's Famous Seafood, and today by Black Eyed Susan Spices, because on Saturday, that is November 16th, noon to 6 p.m., they're going to be at the Nevermore Hot Festival at Peabody Heights Brewery in Baltimore, which is free to get in. You can try and buy samples from over 20 hot sauce and craft vendors from all over the country. With live music, one of the East Coast's best arcades, food from Fuzzy's Burgers, the local oyster, and Taharka Brothers Ice Cream. The festival has an exclusive hot sauce called Jepson's Paw Paw by Black Eyed Susan Spices Company. Festival exclusive beer called Fire Extinguisher Pilsner by Peabody Heights Brewery. All info available at nevermorehot.com and on Instagram at nevermorehot. Also check out blackeyedspices.com. Promo code EXIT52 for 10% off of their product. Get you some hot sauce on us. It's chili season. It's soup season. It's officially there. We're officially Spenny through second summer, I believe. I think we're into real fall now. My allergies absolutely making that, it just couldn't be more evidence. My second severe allergy attack in like the last 3 weeks. I am absolutely struggling right now. How are you, my friend?
Doing well. I am fired up for this matchup, fired up for what should feel like a renewed rivalry between these two teams. Russell Wilson has not lost a game as the Steelers starter coming in halfway through the year. And the Ravens, red hot since starting 0-2. Two of the hottest teams in the entire NFL right now. Patrick Queen, Pro Bowl, all-pro player for the Ravens, switching sides. Lamar Jackson has missed so many starts against the Steelers, whether it's due to sickness, whether it's due to injury, whether it's due to the Ravens clinching first-round bye. Has only played the Steelers, only started 4 times against them. A lot of juice between the fan bases. A lot of Steelers fans seem to hold Lamar Jackson's 1-3 record and the fact that they have bottled him up 3 times, I will say, contained him relatively well in those first 3 matchups. And the fact that the box score stats didn't look good last year. Lamar Jackson's highest PFF grade of the last 2 seasons was in that Steelers game where the Ravens only scored 10 points. They dropped 6-7 passes in that game, several touchdowns. Everyone on that offense played poorly except for Lamar Jackson. The Ravens only scored 10 points in that game. And because of that, it feels like Ravens fans have a lot of juice and something to prove, whereas the Steelers have owned the Ravens over the last couple of years. So it's an exciting matchup. I'm fired up for it. It is right before Thanksgiving. You just mentioned second summer, third summer are over. The fall weather is out and about. The golf club's kind of sadly probably getting packed in for the most part. Some of us true dimple heads will find our way out there, but it's getting into that time of the year where it's just football and the holidays and it feels right. And this is the part of the year that we love. So after all these candy ass mofos on Twitter are saying how boring the NFL is, we get Ravens Steelers at 1:00, we get Chiefs Bills at 4:00, and we get Bengals Chargers at the night game. So there's going to be a marquee matchup between exciting teams and quarterbacks going all day long after somewhat of a kind of boring week, relatively speaking, in comparison. So I'm fired up for this week. I'm fired up for this game. And hopefully you said you titled this episode, you're the one who picks the titles most of the time. You said, show me something. Show me time for the Baltimore Ravens. It's show yourselves, show me, show the fans, show everyone that you can whip the Pittsburgh Steelers asses. It's time. There's no more excuses to be made. They're pretty healthy.
Whipping asses. I mean, holy shit. Let's walk before we can run here. Let's crawl before we can walk. Let's just go in there and get a W. That's the way that I'm looking at this one. And, we could walk out of this game. I could hear calls for Todd Monken's head every time. It feels like every game, win or not, you hear calls for John Harbaugh's head. I could hear calls for Zach Orr, which have been cacophonous as of late. I could hear calls for Lamar Jackson to be replaced at quarterback if they can get this win. I'd take anything because I'm just so freaking tired of this Steelers team. And like I said, when we were talking the other night, I think I was rambling about it a little bit and just a little bit in my feelings, but I've kind of articulated my thoughts a little bit better. And it's just funny that when it feels like it's really time for the Ravens to break the duck here, when it's really time for them to get off the schneid versus the Steelers, of course, it's probably the best Steelers team we've seen in years. I think their defense is as strong as it's been. I don't think this offense is anything special. We were talking before we got going here. It's a little bit of one-trick pony, especially in money down situations, which we'll get into with the preview, but just a lot of Russie Moonball to George Pickens, and now Mike Williams getting in the mix with a fantastic catch last week. A lot of Jalen Warren and Freiermuth coming into block in those types of third and long situations. Obviously, we love Najee Harris's talent and everything else they're able to do. But overall, I think the Ravens have a pretty significantly better offense, but I think the Steelers have a significantly better defense. And this, to me, this is the best matchup between these two teams in a long time, probably since that 2020 losing never heard of her game where the Steelers had a good team that wound up being a little bit of a paper tiger, but they were 11-0 at one point. The Ravens finished that year 11-5 as well, won a playoff game. But again, it's been 4 years, and now you've got the Steelers at a position of strength, 7-2 record. Ravens typically strong, 7-3 record. This matchup between both games is probably going to be deciding the division. So yeah, it's funny enough. You really need a win against this team, both for pride purposes and of course for if you want to go on and win this division and give yourself an easier path to the Super Bowl. This is probably the number one team you're worrying about going through right now.
Yeah, it's the team that has been in first place for the most part this season. The Steelers so far this year have beaten the Commanders last week in a super close game. We're going to look at some of those plays when we get to the film here. They've beaten the Giants, the Jets, the Raiders. They lost to the Cowboys, lost to the Colts. They did beat the Chargers September 22nd. They beat the Broncos. They beat the Falcons to start the year. So Falcons a good team. Kirk Cousins didn't quite look himself early in the season. Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins kind of got a little more spry, I'd say, after those Achilles injuries. They did shut down the Broncos pretty effectively there, who also shut the Steelers down a bit. Justin Fields at quarterback for a good bit of these games. And yeah, the Steelers don't really have a signature win to this point, I would say. They always take care of business. The Mike Tomlin never has a losing season, all that good stuff. They figure out a way to outclass bad teams and bad organizations at the end of games. They force turnovers. The Steelers have blocked 9 kicks over the last 3 years. They lead the NFL in block kicks. Their special teams has been really dynamic. They've had special teams touchdowns. Calvin Austin has been a inconsistent but really dangerous returner. They do a lot of the little things right. They block. They keep themselves out of bad situations and bad positions. Their turnover differential is really strong. I haven't looked at it, but I think Justin Fields threw 1 pick. Russell Wilson has thrown 1 pick. The Steelers have the 3rd best turnover differential per game in football. They're turning the ball over 1 less time than their opponent per game, whereas the Ravens come in at 10th at 0.4. So 2 teams that have done a better job taking the ball away and taking care of the football overall. So yeah, Kurt K in the comments here, the Steelers don't like to burn the house down. They like to play conservatively. They like to let their opponent try to, it's almost like this. It's almost like, and they have no reason to play this way, but it's like they hold the title belt in the UFC. They are the belt holder, and it goes 5 rounds, and they will score some points. They'll keep it close. And at the end, that the refs are probably like, not the refs, but in order to win the match, you probably are going to have to beat them. They always make teams feel like teams need to try to knock them out. It's like they don't get knocked out very often. They very, very, very rarely lose those games. It's always like you're trying to beat the champ, and the champ just, lets you spend your gas and then slips you into a guillotine and ends the fight. So they've been very calm. I think they do have a championship demeanor late in games, and I would give Mike Tomlin that credit, whereas John Harbaugh has lit the house on fire. It has worked a lot of times. It has also not worked a lot of times too. The Ravens have a lot of leads. They blow a lot of leads. They win a lot of games, and they play a lot of close games because of those said things. So that's why this is such an interesting matchup.
Yeah, no, it's John. I think it's the players a little bit too. We talk about Lamar kind of getting that skittish look in his eye early in games. I think we look back at that AFC Championship game, and certainly very curious play calling with the 6 runs that they called there. But I think it just felt like Lamar was maybe spooked a little bit early in that game. I know he made that, nice play with the touchdown to Flowers. That was great, but it was coming off, the heels of him spinning out in sort of this chaotic motion, and you tie the game up that way. But throughout the rest of the game, they never settled down. They never felt comfortable. And you only get 1 or 2 or 3 games like that from Lamar a year, but it seems like more often than not, the Steelers are, pretty much the only team that's consistently able to get him in that mode, to get him playing off of the back foot. So, you're going into a raucous environment. Steelers currently winning the division by virtue of, I think, have they played more games than the Ravens? If they had a bye, I'm not really sure why
they've had a bye. I think the Steelers are 7-2, and the Ravens are 7-3. The Steelers are 3-1 at home, 4-1 on the road. The Steelers have won 4 straight. Ravens have won 2 straight since that Browns loss. I think the Steelers have lost one in-conference game, and all three of the Ravens' losses have been in conference, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and it just feels like the Ravens, what I would say going into this game in the Ravens' favor is, like, if you're looking at it like a college football thing, the Ravens definitely have the quality wins, right? You look at the Bills, I think, would be sort of the number one there, but this Broncos team is not going away. They showed a lot against the Chiefs. The Ravens manhandled them. They beat the Bengals twice in, pretty thrilling fashion. Bengals aren't great record-wise, but
Bengals could easily be 6-4 if they beat the Ravens twice.
Or any of these other teams that they've been in close games with. I mean, they're a talented team on offense in particular. Those are two quality wins, in my opinion. Bills, quality win. Cowboys at that time in the year, especially in Dallas, I think that was a fairly quality win, especially the way they were able to unlock things. And Buccaneers, too. I mean, they were in a good spot there, and that's the game that Mike Evans and Chris Godwin both get hurt, and they're kind of in free fall since then. But I don't know, man. I think the Ravens have had to kind of run a gauntlet here. We've talked about the quarterbacks they've faced and mostly done pretty well against. Not necessarily as a feather in the cap of the defense. I think it's more just a total team effort, and on the offense kind of carrying them through some of these games, Bengals in particular. But, man, you mentioned the quality wins with the Steelers, and I think last week you could definitely give them some credit for that one, going into Washington, beating a red-hot Commanders team, and doing it in pretty convincing fashion. I mean, this was not like, Commanders probably should have lost to the Bears, right? So you talk about winning in convincing fashion. I think the Steelers took care of business against them. And outside of that, that Falcons win early in the year, you look back on that one as probably pretty quality, but that's a weird Justin Fields start. So it's kind of like a team that's almost rebuilding itself on the fly around what Wilson's able to do versus what Fields did, where they were kind of just running that sort of, wishbone quarterback run type offense, college offense with Fields. It's definitely evolved under Russie, and I think he's doing a decent job of it. But it'll be interesting to see how this defense responds to a guy who doesn't have that much game tape under his belt for 2024.
Certainly, we can take a look at some plays here. The Ravens are 3.5-point favorites as things stand. Over under is 48.5. Ravens are minus 180 money line. So the Ravens averaging the most points in the NFL, 31.8 points per game. The Steelers are 12th with 23.9. The Ravens have the 7th highest point differential in the NFL, plus 65. The Steelers have the 5th highest at plus 69. Very nice. Record in close games, Ravens are 4-3. Steelers are 4-2. The average margin of victory for the Ravens is 11.4 and the Steelers 10.7. The Steelers second in turnover differential at plus 9. The Ravens 9th at plus 4. And penalties. The Ravens are 32nd in the league in penalties accepted. They have not had their bye, but the Steelers are 11th with 57. And an interesting note that Clay Martin will be the referee this Sunday of that game. Has a very average number of penalties called per game. However, by far, his crew leads the NFL in holding calls, offensive holding calls, I should specify, calling over 4 of them per game, I believe 4.5 per game. And the Ravens are second to last in the NFL. They've had the second most offensive holding calls in the league at 23.
I think most in overall penalties, too, if the graphic I saw the other day was correct.
Yeah, they're 32nd in the NFL in penalties with 80.
Yeah.
So they've had the most. The Steelers have had the 11th fewest at 59. So, yeah, the Ravens have had a very tough schedule. They've played a lot of really good quarterbacks, like you mentioned. They will now play the Chargers and Justin Herbert next week. They will play Jalen Hurts and the Eagles after that. 2 quarterbacks that have been playing probably other than Lamar Jackson, and I'll throw Joe Burrow in there, probably in that second tier as well as anyone in the NFL. So they will have played the who's who of quarterbacks in the NFL really this year. Who are they going to miss? What quarterback? Like Kyler Murray's played pretty well. Who else are the Ravens missing?
Aaron
Rodgers. Baker's played really well. We talked about Baker.
Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
They played. They played Baker. I mean, it's.
Let me see here. According to let's see, they won't play. They play Jaden Daniels, who's been really good. They won't play Brock Purdy, who's been pretty good. Geno Smith, Kirk Cousins, like those guys have been, solid, but they will have played all of the really good quarterbacks for the most part. So it has been tough, but that's good. That's a good thing. The Ravens playing really good quarterbacks and winning games, and sure, even getting fucked up by Joe Burrow, blowing coverages, all that stuff. It can be a good thing still today. It still can. They still haven't had their bye. Is it good right now? No, it's certainly not. And I think you can feel those in comments from Zach Orr saying that I can't remember. He said he was pissed off for 3 days after last game, or
he inconsolable. He had to like go into he had to go on a darkness retreat. It sounded like, and maybe it was just his living room and, maybe a bottle of whiskey next to him as opposed to other mind altering substances, and, wasn't off in the
we forgot to do our New York Minute on the jumbo.
We did. I'm just bursting at the seams with the New York Minute right now.
Yeah. So we can get into it. We can get into the tape a little bit here. The one thing I thought was really interesting, a couple quick insights via NFL Pro to discuss. The Steelers actually lead the NFL in usage of 13 personnel. Michael Pruitt is really banged up right now. But the Steelers still have Freiermuth, Darnell Washington, who I loved coming out. Such a unique player, is going to become such a force, I think, via a la like a Mercedes Lewis, but even maybe a little bit more insane as time goes on. But they run 13 personnel. This was one of the most Mike Tomlin stats I've ever heard in my entire life. As I'm looking for it here. Let's see. Steelers run 13 personnel, 1 back, 3 tight ends, a league high 19% of plays this season. The Steelers are the only team in the NFL to have more than 100 plays in 13 personnel, but they have averaged just 3.2 yards per carry in the NFL, the third lowest in the NFL. The NFL average is 4.3. So they are averaging.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
This is stupid. Do you have the NGS on Darnell Washington's like open field speed? I feel like he's literally the slowest tight end I've ever seen in my life. He's good. Like, I like him, but when he gets the ball in his hand, he looks like he's playing QWOP. Shout out to Charlie Kohler.
I don't have his I don't have his GPS data, unfortunately. I could find maybe some plays of it or something.
What a stupid thing that I just derailed you on. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, it's funny because he ran a 4.64. He ran a faster 40 than Mark Andrews.
That was the thing. He was like, I thought he was going to be a beast coming out of Georgia. And I think he's a good player, but like when I see him get the ball in his hand sometime, I'm like, is that the same dude that I was watching? Like,
he had some injuries. I think he's going to develop really nicely I think when he's 29 years old, I think he's going to be really fucking good if he stays healthy. Like, I think he's going to continue to learn his game, be able to separate a little more. He's going to be a dominant blocker. I love Darnell Washington. And he's looked all right this year. Big. Yeah, we got in the comments here. Rumbler. Mark in the comments said rumbler. He rumbles. Rumble, young man, rumble. So does Freiermuth. They got some rumblers at tight end. Freiermuth maybe the most, I also say maybe the most average tight. I don't mean this derogatory or positive. Maybe the most average tight end like ever.
The most regular person I've ever seen.
He is just like he's an 81 in Madden, probably, if I had to guess, maybe a 77. And he's kind of a moose after the catch a little bit. He drops some balls. He doesn't really make a ton of huge mistakes. He makes a couple nice plays. He is the most 81 Madden tight end I've ever seen.
They've been trying to make the Heath Miller thing happen for a long, like they tried to do it with Jesse James. They tried to do it with a couple of these guys. This is the Heath Miller of this generation. He's just kind of there, and
Heath was so good though. Heath was so good.
He was, but like Roethlisberger, he was just perfect for him. Like if he had played in like Peyton Manning's offense, like he probably would not have been seen the way that he is seen, especially by people like us who he absolutely destroyed.
That is a great point. So I wanted to take a look here. I went back and watched the last 2 games of the Steelers. One thing that really stood out to me that I wanted to bring up on tape here was what the Steelers do on third down. They run the same play every third and long, basically even in the red zone. Other than one screen to, I was about to call him Austin Eckler because I meant to say on this, I have my mini take in this. Jaylen Warren is Austin Eckler if Austin Eckler was actually a running back. That's the take that I wanted to put in here. Jaylen Warren is a real running back. Austin Eckler is a fake running back.
Warren can actually, he can actually run the ball.
He just has a little more like strength. Like he's a little bit more of a true functional, strong running back.
Yeah, Austin Eckler was a Danny Woodhead, like -1, like, whatever you want to call it.
Thick Danny Woodhead. He's a little thicker than that, Austin Eckler. But yeah, he's like a gadget scat back. Warren is in that category too, but he's a real running back. So every single play I show, I even labeled it, they run the same play. They are going to have oh my God, I was about to call him Heath Miller. Pat Freiermuth and Jaylen Warren pretty much on every third down. And a lot of times they're going to get tight, especially in the red zone. They are going to max protect nearly every single third and long. Every single time. Those guys are going to stay in, chip, they'll release. Sometimes they'll throw them the ball. What they want to do is spread the field out downfield, give lots of two-way goes so that these receivers can read coverage. This was the play that ended up getting reversed because Pickens tapped his toe down twice. They make sure Russ doesn't get hit on third down. They don't want him to possibly take a sack. He still gets hit by Brian Burns. Unbelievable ball there. They run the same play every time. I'm probably clipped too much here because I just thought this was an awesome throw, so I went back. But the moon ball is in full effect.
I mean, Pickens just turning into one of the great circus acts in the NFL, whether you talk about the double single foot toe tap and you talk about him getting into that sort of palooka kind of old-timey 1920s pugilist match with that cornerback last week, and some of these amazing catches that he's making, and then just the theatrics with his attitude. He's just a really firebrand, entertaining player to me.
Reminds me a lot of young DeAndre Hopkins with the body control, and I think Hopkins was not quite as fiery, but he did fear God. I
was going to say, he said, "I fear God, bro." Hopkins was like more of a kind of just a silent assassin. This guy is like, he thinks he's like Kratos from God of War, and sometimes he is. Other times, he's got you feeling nicey. Eric, shout out to Barstool John in the news that came out of Chicago today. Great stuff. But yeah, no, Pickens, tremendous player, but prone to theatrics. Let's just put it that way. And you can't get roped into it either.
He is. So this was Russ's second start. I didn't honestly watch the Jet start. I didn't want to go watch him. But again, Freiermuth is in, Jalen Warren's in the backfield, and they've got 7 guys in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 back there in Warren. Pickens here doesn't get the ball. He runs a double move, an out and up, or the inverse of it, every third and long. So they have not. The one time Russ threw it was actually a pick against the Commanders last week. So ball doesn't go there. He doesn't see anything. Look how the Giants played this on the one side. There was 3 for 2 being Warren, and then they had 4 for 3. But this corner bit, do not bite. Let him go have the first down. Do not bite on that fucking double move. That is what the Steelers do. This is why it's so interesting to me. They effectively force you to play man coverage in a way because they max protect and there's so much space. The zones kind of don't matter. They are tighter. You'll notice that they're very often between the numbers. Here they look like they're an empty. They're not. It's the same fucking thing. Warren is going to chip. Freiermuth is going to chip. And then there's 3 receivers between the numbers. They want to give them space. Russ likes to throw the ball to the outside, which I think fares really well for the Ravens. They're much better defending outside the numbers than inside the numbers. Have they been beat outside the numbers? Yes. I'm not saying they haven't, but I think playing man coverage goes to the Ravens' strengths. 44 with a horrible rep there. Really nice ball from Russ. Floats it back shoulder, allows Van Jefferson, who I fucking loved coming out of Florida, to turn around and make that little nice back shoulder play. Shocker. Here it is. These are almost every play they run on 3rd and long. Same thing again. They're in tight. And a slot fade. Calvin Austin slot fade for a touchdown. No pressure on Russ because they're max protecting. They don't trust their offensive line. They want lots of space. They want one-on-one matchups. So my solution that I'll present is the safeties need to just get depth and figure out where the slot fade is and double the slot fade. It's going to be one of the two. Here we're going to see they're going to run in so that they can get Pickens on the slot fade. The Commanders blitzed a couple times. They did something interesting. I can't remember if it was this one or another one. I don't think it's this one. But again, we've got Freiermuth and Warren. Chip, 2 on one side, 1 receiver on the other. The receiver comes in so that Pickens can have space. Not a good enough ball by Russ there. Not great timing maybe by Pickens or whatever receiver that was. So then another one. I'm just going to keep showing these over and over. And now you see the Commanders start to change the look. They don't want to sit there and play this game. They're getting antsy. So they're like, oh, we're going to bring everybody in. But they dropped out of it. You get Russ to hold the ball a little bit, and he just kind of throws it away. This is kind of a blind throw for Russ. He wants to look right, but it was taken away, and he kind of just turns and throws the ball. So Russ can do that sometimes, but if that's how you get beat with Russ turning and throwing the ball and you've got a safety shaded there, that is perfectly fine with me. So they give the pressure look. You get Russ to get his happy feet a little bit, and then he fucking blindly throws the ball like a crazy man. Russ has thrown the ball on the run more than any quarterback in the NFL this year. He is 8 of 19 throwing the ball on the run. Get him on the run. Here again, it looks like Freiermuth is going to line up and run a route. No, he's going to chip again. It's the same fucking play over and over. This is 2 games I'm showing you. I've been running my mouth for how many minutes now? It's the same fucking shit. There's a slot fade. taken away. And it's going to be really funny because I like this one. The Commanders brought like a little sim. They crashed, which got Russ to bail out. And his arm he can still throw the moon ball, but it's not what it once was. This is going to be a punt effectively on third down. So it's really fine. This is where Pickens fucking leaps like a jungle cat at the corner for no reason because he's psychotic. But getting Russ to move outside the pocket is a fantastic thing. It's Pickens on that double move. Again, like I said, he kind of slows up a little bit, kind of doesn't ever really see the ball, picked off. It's just a punt. Pickens like barely grazed him. So
how do the Ravens do that? How do the Ravens do that?
Get Russ to move.
How?
Crash. What we see right there, they crash across face. This 3-tech was the key to the whole thing to me. He is going to line up outside and he's going to crash across 73. So Russ feels like he has to move. There's a big hold right here. Watch 65. I'll go slow-mo here. That's a hold. That's a hold. That's a hold. That's a hold. Not thrown. Flailing the arms doesn't.
You get the flop too. You gotta throw
flop and deflect. That was a real hold. That's why we have to eliminate holding because fuck that. So now that was a great rep. So now the Commanders are like, oh, we want to pressure him at the end of the game, and this is the Mike Williams go ahead. They bring pressure. Russ, watch where Russ throws this ball. Watch where Mike Williams is. Watch where Mike Williams is.
To throw that.
So the ball is snapped on the 30. We'll call it the 32-yard line. I'll give him an extra third of a yard. Mike Williams is on the 21-22 when this ball is thrown. That's a Russ Moon ball into the end zone. Off his back foot, sliding, fading. The Commanders are probably sick. They did everything right. They got pressure in his face. He threw it off his back foot. This corner didn't have help and played too much hero ball. Start running your damn feet backwards earlier. I mean, Mike Williams really did just turn and run, just ran away from him in space. And it was a great ball, but not having the safety help on that single receiver side, having it manned up because you blitzed. Why is this safety not there to help? Because you brought an extra pass rusher, right? Let's see how many rush. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So one of these guys could have covered the back. Then this safety could have helped. And that's probably not a touchdown. And you maybe don't lose that game. This was third down. The Steelers would have had to go for it still, but don't do this. Do not rush. You got pressure. He's just going to throw it anyway. You're going to get the result you want, which is him throwing it. If you can't get him out, if you do rush, also make it so that he leaves the pocket. Like make it a slide rush. Don't try and do the stunt to get up the middle. Crash. Everyone crash. Just slant the rush so that he bails. You want him to leave the pocket. Him leaving the pocket used to be a very dangerous thing. Now it's a good thing as a defense, in my opinion. He's a little bit older. He can still do it. He'll make me bite my words, making a play or two on the run in this game. I'm not saying it's horrible when he does it, but again, this is kind of still even just the result you want. Look at that fucking throw, man. It was awesome. So I thought this was a much better game than what I saw against the Giants. The Commanders defense, not great. Not a great unit. If they had Marshawn Lattimore covering Mike Williams, who they traded for, that probably goes a lot better. Who let up that touchdown? The corner that's been getting toasted all year. But to me, that just epitomizes Steeler football. They are eliminating the downside of Russ. They're like, oh, you're going to have to throw the ball downfield and you're going to have to stay in the pocket mostly because we're max protecting. So breaking the pocket isn't going to help you. There's not going to be 5 guys running routes where somebody comes open and you can make a play or throw a pick or all that shit. They have cut the legs off of him and made him do what he does best. They have like simplified him on third down and done it to the point where it looks good. I mean, it looks good. It's if it's third down, you want to take shots and
he's the dude.
Ball, it's fine. They're fine. The reason they're doing that is because they're fine punting the ball.
Right. You get these third and 10. You have a 3rd and 10 or a 3rd and 9, whatever, and like you're in a plus of enough territory that you can just throw these things up. And this is a guy they've been waiting for. They have had this team of badass receivers, starting with Pickens going back a couple of years, but you've got Kenny Pickett with his little Red Ryder BB pop gun ass arm, who's not going to be able to take advantage. And then you've got Mason Rudolph, who's got a little bit of an arm, but a super scatter shot. This is a guy we've been waiting for. The Steelers have been waiting for, right? Who can put moon balls up there. And it's just a one-on-one battle with a big receiver like a Pickens. And now you got a Mike Williams in there that can just go up and snatch the ball away, or it's just an effective arm punt. Shout out to Don C here with the $5 tip. Spencer Jake, I'm up in New England working. It's cold, and their accent is driving me nuts. Much love, guys. F the Steelers. Let's ride. Thank you, Don, for the tip. Much appreciated. Stay warm up there. And Aya, that's what they like to say. I'm a big Aya guy. when you get up into
Love
Maine.
it. Love it, Don. Thank you very much, my friend. With Don making that awesome donation, appreciate you. Go ahead, like and subscribe on YouTube. The easiest way to support the podcast is to simply just like and subscribe and watch our videos and tell your friends about it. Word of mouth.
You can donate like he did too. We'd appreciate that.
So Don's donation, thank you, Don. I appreciate it. It's just going to go in the fund for me to pay for Steelers tickets for the contest that we're doing. If you're watching right now, head on over to the YouTube video. Please go comment a score prediction for this game or for any game in the month of November with the hashtag November to remember, baby. Hashtag November. Put a score prediction. You must be subscribed in order to win. If I pick a winner and you're not subscribed when I go to check, you will not win. So if you want to win 2 tickets to the Steelers at Ravens on December 21st, go ahead and comment hashtag November. Put a score prediction to any game, whoever's closest. And I kind of see first there on whatever video. Can be any video, can be this video, any future video in November. We've got a couple weeks left. We're going to announce the winner live after the Eagles game, which is December 1st. So again, hashtag November, must subscribe. Go head over to YouTube, head over to this video and do so. So I mean, that's kind of the long and short to me. Like they'll throw some shots out of the heavier stuff a little bit. They'll run the ball. Like Najee's a freight train and Jaylen Warren can run the ball, but the Ravens have been outstanding against the run. I think that the Steelers don't care. I think that Mike Tomlin refuses to bend to the will of the Ravens run defense. I think the Steelers really want to run for 100 yards really bad, even if it takes 25, 30 carries. And yeah, it's just they're going to play offense expecting you to make mistakes. So getting pressure on Russ is imperative. And it's interesting because the Ravens, Chris Canty was talking about it, and I pulled up some stats on Sports Info Solutions. The Ravens on third down have had arguably the best pass rush in the NFL this season. So even I've done some hemming and hawing about the Ravens pass rush and maybe needing another interior rusher, but the Ravens on third down, second in pressure rate, 50.4%, fifth in sack rate, 13.4%, second in sacks per game on third down, 1.6. They are first in the NFL in pressure rate when rushing 4 on third down. They are second in sacks rate, and they are second in sacks per game when rushing exactly 4 on third down. However, if you rush 4 and the Steelers have 7, you're not going to get sacks. Maybe you get 1, maybe you get a couple pressures. So I'm intrigued by that. Are the Ravens what is burning the house down mean to me? Knowing that the Steelers are going to go max protection and rushing 7. That is what burning the house down is. So are the Ravens going to do that in this game? I would anticipate probably yes, if the Ravens are tied and or up by less than a field goal at the end of the fourth quarter. They will probably run cover 0. Why do I think that? Because they tell us. And because they do it every single time. Because they want you to score a touchdown so that they can get the ball back. So I get that, but it's just cover 0 should be a surprise. It should be oh shit, I thought they were going to drop out. The Ravens don't surprise you late in the game. They are so Harbaugh and every defensive coordinator, they've always broadcast. Well, the reason we did that was because we believe if we want to get the ball back. So that's not a surprise. Cover 0 is meant to be a sneaky little surprise. Engage 8, you can run it in Madden every play. Some people used to do that, but you want it to look like it's engage 8. Drop out a lot more than you do otherwise. So we just know. I mean, if it's going to get to that point, most likely, if it's a close game, the Ravens will run cover 0, and Mike Williams or fucking Calvin Austin or Van Jefferson or George Pickens will probably catch a ball over top because it's a tough place to be, being on an island on third and or fourth down. So do I think this plays a little? You're not going to blow coverages. You can lose a rep. You can get beat, but you're not going to fuck a zone up playing a little bit more man when the Steelers force you to on third down. So I think that plays to the Ravens' strengths. I think playing man plays to the Ravens' strengths. I think Nate Wiggins has been a good man cover corner. I think that Marlon Humphrey has been. I think it eliminates Marcus Williams being someone that gets targeted versus someone that helps and goes and makes a play, helping someone who's playing man coverage. So those things are all imperative. And after they got embarrassed by Joe Burrow, who is playing as well as any quarterback in the NFL for the second time, got embarrassed by him, lick your wounds. You've had a long week. They had a mini bye. You've had a lot of time to continue to process, continue to man the fuck up and figure it out.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know what the answer is. I feel like the way you lay it all out there schematically, it sounds very simple, but you also look at last week, what happened in that secondary a little bit. You get into a crucial situation. You're up by a touchdown. Everyone's looking at each other in the stadium like, all right, just need the defense to get one stop. And then what happens? Jamar Chase, one play, he just runs by the,
They weren't playing man coverage when that happened. They're playing fucking zone. Both long touchdowns are zone.
Exactly. And it's just kind of like, what more do you need to have happen to you? What needs to be the turnaround moment? And the thing about a turnaround moment, we've been waiting for it. It can happen any single week. I mean, I was listening to, shout out to my guy, Russillo. I was listening to his podcast and he had Booger McFarland on, and Booger was a part of that 2006 Colts team that would go on to win the Super Bowl. And they were just a bad defense. They were a bad run defense in particular. And as they were going into that playoffs, they had a good enough record and everything, but like it was up in the air as to whether they could get it done because they were just getting run over on the ground. And Tony Dungy said, look, we're not going to change the defense. We're not firing anyone. You guys are professionals. You've just got to fucking show up and start doing your job a little bit better. And I don't know, I guess they took it to heart. Maybe they started working a little bit harder than usual. Maybe they did this, that, or the other thing. But they just all of a sudden throughout that playoff run turned into the best run defense, in the league or among the teams that were left. And that was the identity of how that team went on to win the Super Bowl. They ran the ball a shit ton. They ran over the Bears. And Peyton, after years and years of toiling away and being called a choke artist, Peyton finally wins his first Super Bowl. But he needed that defensive turnaround. He needed that help from his defense. And I get that hope is not a strategy, but that to me is kind of the only hope with this defense is that these guys are talented and a light is going to turn on because, again, they're not going to make this coaching change that people are hoping for in the season with Zach Orr. They're not going to make any massive schematic changes because that might hurt things more than they help at this point too. These guys have just got to start playing better. And again, this is a game that's going to need to be all hands on deck. I don't think the offense can just keep carrying them through week after week. We're going to need to have the defense show me something in particular. The offense has carried more than their share of the load at this point.
Sure.
What's going on over there, by the way?
Trying to just put the game on. So with all of that, the Ravens offense is the Ravens offense is the other side of that. And what do the Steelers do? They play a lot of cover 3. They play a lot of cover 1. They play about as much middle of the field close coverage as anyone in the NFL. They don't blitz a ton. They don't move TJ Watt around. They don't. They don't stunt too much. They don't run blitz a terrible amount. They do play a lot of base. They're comfortable playing base. They love getting a Landon Roberts on the field for those early downs. So I could see the Steelers, much like the Bengals and much like the Browns, relatively winning the war of attrition against your heavier run game and against your 12 personnel, 21 personnel, 13 personnel, when you condense it especially. So I would like to see the Ravens use those packages to run spread. So have 12 personnel and 21 personnel and all that shit and spread the field out. Set the tight ends out wide. Trips, bunches with 2 tight ends and a receiver. Run a screen to Zay Flowers that way with 2 tight ends blocking for him or vice versa. All kinds of shit. Have Mark Andrews lead the way for Isaiah Likely on some quick screens. Shit like that. I don't want to get into the pissing contest of the heavy personnel stuff with them. Derrick Henry's run well into heavy boxes, 8-man boxes, and he's averaging 5.8 yards a carry into heavy boxes, all that kind of stuff. But offensively, it is what it is. Like Lamar Jackson is going to be unbelievable. He's going to make plays. Maybe he'll turn the ball over once, maybe twice. Maybe you can get a strip sack, TJ Watt, you fucking awesome guy with all your 6-second fucking strip sacks, kicking the door down. Nothing pissed me off more in the Commanders game last week than a tip ball from Cam Hayward floating into TJ Watt's lap and him dropping it. And then the commentator being like, that was almost a signature TJ Watt play. Oh, cool. He almost fucking caught a football that fell in his lap. Cool. What a signature play that would have been. And then he goes and kicks the door down after.
TJ Watt, American Express. He's everywhere you want to be. Right place, right time.
The Peloton brothers.
He's Cristiano Ronaldo with the NFL.
I think the Ravens offense, like I can get into the scheme and all that stuff, but I think just being calm and not jumping off or not committing false starts, not losing your cool, not letting the Steelers bait you into penalties, not turning the ball over, just doing the little shit right. Your offense is better than their defense. Their offense is a fine unit. Your defense does things well. You've had some struggles, but like Alex Highsmith is a big loss. You're going to be able to help out against TJ Watt a lot, take him out of the game. throw downfield. I think Zay Flowers is a monster game. That'll be my prediction. I think Zay Flowers is a huge fucking game against them. I think he's the exact type of receiver that they don't have the bodies for, and I think he can go into the places that middle of the field, in motion, running crossers, stuff like that, that'll give them trouble. So I think Zay Flowers is a big, big, big game.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to need to. Deontay Johnson. It's funny. I mean, Tomlin had some comments that he hasn't even really thought about Deontay Johnson. I think some people maybe took that as an insult, but it's really just the fact that the Ravens have so many other options, and he's only being worked in here for what's going to be his third game. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting how they choose to attack. I like the idea of getting the two tight ends involved. I like the idea of quick passing, getting Henry going early as possible, because that's the thing, man. Like I mentioned that AFC Championship game, and Lamar not being settled down, a good way to do that would have been running the ball successfully. And I say successfully because people just say, well, they didn't run the ball enough. Well, they also couldn't run the ball in that game. They didn't have any running backs left, and it was just kind of, they were at that point. Get Henry going early, couple easy passes, see if you can get some guys schemed open, easy throws, settle your quarterback down, and let him thrive. And again, you don't have to do too much in this game for me. Like, you don't need to be going out there and winning another shootout. Just play competently on defense. Do what you have to do on offense, 80% or thereabouts of what you've been doing, and get out of here and leave the matches in the car, leave the gas can in the trunk. Let's not walk into that house and set it on fire this week. That is all I am asking for.
Yeah, with that said, we can get to predictions. I think the Ravens lose this one. I'm going to predict them to lose. I haven't seen them do those things you're describing. So whatever. I think the Ravens will lose this one and win the next one. I'm frankly making it because I'm just tired of picking the Ravens to win this game, and they continuously lose it and do stupid shit. So this is the stupid shit game. Are you going to do stupid shit again? This is a come to Jesus moment where you can stop doing dumb shit. I'm looking at Marcus Williams. I'm looking at the Eddie Jacksons. I'm looking at the Trenton Simpson. I guess I can throw Roquan Smith in there. I think he's trying to cover up for the fault of others in many ways, but stop doing dumb shit. Like, wake up. Fucking pick your eyes up. Figure out where a receiver is and fucking cover them. That's all you got to do. Read the play, read your keys, hit the coaching points. Don't do stupid shit. Don't make stupid turnovers. Don't fucking field a punt that you shouldn't field inside the 5-yard line or something. Don't do stupid shit, and you maybe win this game, but I don't trust them not to do stupid shit against the team that makes them do more stupid shit than any other team, maybe the Chiefs.
That's the thing. Like, they did stupid shit last week, in the game that we just watched, and they've done stupid shit historically against this Steelers team, and I'm right there with you that I'd love to pick them to win, but fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times, shame on me. Fool me 4 times, shame on me. Fool me 7 out of 8 times, that it's very much shame on me. So I'm going to pick the Ravens to lose this one 26-23. Not going to be
They should score 40 points on this defense. Like, the Ravens should score 40 points.
They should.
I'm picking them because I'm sick. I'm just sick of picking them and then they lose.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of things
the Steelers team.
There's a lot of things they should have done against the Steelers team going back 4 to 6 years at this point, and they just haven't been able to get it done. So maybe we're doing the Skip Bayless reverse jinx, whatever. But honestly, at this point, I just feel like I'm picking with my head. Like, what is this defense shown that's going to give me confidence going into this? What is this offense shown against this team in particular that's going to give me confidence that they can just settle the fuck down and execute their jobs like they're capable of? It hasn't been there for a long time now, and I'm not getting tricked into it again.
I'll say Steelers 22, Ravens 20. Ravens 20. Justin Tucker misses a kick to lose. Yeah,
that could be. I could very much see that happening. But that would, honestly, that would be like, wow, they had a game-winning kick, and they almost got this one done.
I don't care. Just win the
defense did what they had to do. Offense did what they had to do. Tucker lets them down. Okay, is that all we got? All right. Well, thank you all for tuning in to this week's preview. We'll be going live on Sunday night to break down what will hopefully be a win. We have both predicted will be a loss. We will see what happens. If you want to be there for that, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page here. Like all our videos, comment on all of them, spread them around on social media. If you want to follow us on social media, you can find us at Exit52 Podcast on X and on Instagram. I am at Jake Louque. That's Louque. Spenny's at Ravens 4 Dummies. That is the number 4. Ryan at Barstool Banks. Hopefully not going to be eating some sort of prime rib situation by himself in a lonely bar somewhere after a loss here. Eric at EDITTI22, Taylor at Taylor Smythe 10. Shout out to our sponsors, Jimmy's Famous Seafood, Black Eyed Susan Spices, Clipper City Barber Company, Fed Thrill Sunglasses. Appreciate them all. Appreciate you all. Talk to you guys again on Sunday night.
See ya.
Arrivederci.